Imagine finding a smartphone in the ruins of Pompeii. That's essentially what happened in 1901 when Greek sponge divers pulled an impossible artifact from the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. What they found was a 2,000-year-old computer, a bronze mechanical device so sophisticated that nothing like it would exist again for another 1,400 years. It could predict eclipses, track planetary movements, and calculate astronomical events with precision that wouldn't be matched until the invention of modern computers. The Antikythera Mechanism doesn't just challenge what we know about ancient Greek technology. It completely destroys our understanding of scientific progress itself. Because if the ancient Greeks could build computers, what else could they build? And why was this knowledge completely lost to history? By the end of this video, you'll see evidence that will force you to question everything you thought you knew about the intellectual capabilities of our ancestors. And you'll discover why this discovery terrifies historians more than any other archaeological find. But first, if ancient mysteries that rewrite the history of human achievement fascinate you, hit subscribe and let's dive into the most mind-bending artifact ever discovered. October 1900. Captain Demetrius Kondas and his crew of sponge divers are battling rough seas off the Greek island of Antikythera when a violent storm forces them to take shelter. As the storm subsides, they decide to dive for sponges in the unfamiliar waters. What diver Elias Stadiatus sees on the seafloor, 200 feet below the surface, will haunt him forever. A field of human bodies, horses, and bronze statues scattered across the ocean bottom. His terrified surface crew initially thinks he's suffering from nitrogen narcosis, the rapture of the deep. But Stadiatus isn't hallucinating. He's discovered one of the most important archaeological sites in human history, a Roman cargo ship that sank around 50 BC while carrying Greek treasures from Rhodes to Rome. Over the next year, divers recovered an incredible collection of artifacts: bronze and marble statues, pottery, jewelry, and coins. But buried among these treasures was a corroded lump of bronze and wood that would initially be dismissed as ship debris. It would take decades before anyone realized they had found something that would revolutionize our understanding of ancient technology. That corroded lump was the Antikythera Mechanism, the world's first analog computer, created by unknown Greek engineers around 100 BC. And when modern scientists finally understood what it was, they realized that everything we thought we knew about the history of technology was wrong. If you're ready to have your mind blown by the most sophisticated piece of ancient technology ever discovered, show some love with a like. Trust me, you've never seen anything like what we're about to explore. For nearly 50 years after its discovery, the Antikythera Mechanism sat in the National Archaeological Museum of Athens, catalogued simply as bronze object number 15087. Most scholars assumed it was some kind of astrolabe or basic navigational instrument. But in 1951, British science historian Derek de Solla Price took a closer look at the corroded fragments and made an observation that would change everything. Embedded within the bronze corrosion were the unmistakable shapes of gear wheels, dozens of precisely cut bronze gears with teeth so fine and accurate that they rivaled the craftsmanship of 18th-century clockmakers. Price's initial examination revealed at least 30 separate bronze gears arranged in a complex mechanical system. But this was impossible. According to mainstream historical narrative, the first mechanical gears weren't invented until medieval times. Complex clockwork mechanisms didn't exist until the Renaissance. Yet here was physical evidence of sophisticated gear trains created 1,500 years before the first mechanical clocks were supposedly invented. Price spent the next 20 years studying the mechanism, publishing his findings in 1974 in a groundbreaking paper that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. His conclusion was as simple as it was revolutionary. The ancient Greeks had built a mechanical computer. But Price's research revealed something even more disturbing. The Antikythera mechanism wasn't just sophisticated, it was impossibly sophisticated. The precision of its gears, the complexity of its calculations, and the breadth of its astronomical knowledge suggested a level of scientific understanding that supposedly didn't exist in ancient times. Someone in ancient Greece had possessed technological knowledge that wouldn't be rediscovered for over a millennium. And then, somehow, that knowledge had completely disappeared from history. In 2005, a team of international scientists led by Tony Freeth began the most comprehensive analysis of the Antikythera mechanism ever attempted. Using high-resolution CT scanning, 3D modeling, and advanced imaging techniques, they peered inside the corroded bronze fragments and discovered something that defied belief. The Antikythera mechanism contains at least 82 bronze gears arranged in multiple gear trains that perform incredibly complex mathematical calculations. But these aren't simple mechanical calculations. They're astronomical calculations that require deep understanding of planetary motion, eclipse cycles, and the mathematics of orbital mechanics. The front dial of the mechanism displays the positions of the Sun, Moon, and known planets against the backdrop of the zodiac. Users could turn a hand crank, and the device would show the exact positions of celestial bodies for any date in the past or future. But that's just the beginning. The back of the mechanism contains 2 additional dials that perform even more sophisticated calculations. The upper back dial is a 19-year metonic cycle calendar that tracks the phases of the Moon with extraordinary precision. The lower dial is a 223-month Saros cycle calculator that predicts solar and lunar eclipses, not just when they'll occur, but where they'll be visible on Earth. Think about what this means. Someone in ancient Greece understood that eclipses follow predictable patterns. They knew the precise orbital periods of the Moon and planets. They understood the mathematics needed to project these movements across decades or centuries. This level of astronomical knowledge supposedly didn't exist until the scientific revolution of the 16th century. So here's my question for you. If ancient Greeks could build computers that tracked planetary movements, what else could they build that we don't know about? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm genuinely curious about your theories. But the most mind-bending aspect of the Antikythera mechanism is its precision. The gear ratios are accurate to within fractions of a percent. The astronomical calculations match modern computer models almost perfectly. This isn't primitive technology stumbling toward correct answers. This is sophisticated engineering executing complex mathematics with stunning accuracy. The deeper scientists dig into the Antikythera mechanism, the more impossible it becomes to explain within our understanding of ancient Greek capabilities. The mechanism incorporates advanced mathematical concepts that we thought weren't discovered until much later in history. It uses differential gearing, a technique that wasn't supposedly invented until the 16th century. It employs epicyclic gear trains that require deep understanding of rotational mechanics. But perhaps most shocking of all, the mechanism contains knowledge that ancient Greeks weren't supposed to possess. The device accurately models the elliptical orbit of the Moon, a discovery that mainstream history credits to Johannes Kepler in 1609. But the Antikythera mechanism was calculating elliptical lunar motion 1,700 years before Kepler was born. Recent analysis has revealed inscriptions on the mechanism that reference astronomical theories that supposedly didn't exist until the work of Hipparchus and Apollonius. But these inscriptions suggest that ancient Greek astronomers understood concepts like epicycles, eccentrics, and complex planetary motion models. The mechanism also incorporates the precise length of the metonic cycle, 6,939.75 days for 235 lunar months. This level of precision requires centuries of careful astronomical observation and mathematical analysis. Yet somehow, ancient Greek scientists had calculated this value with accuracy that wouldn't be improved upon until modern times. Dr. Tony Freeth, who led the modern analysis, put it perfectly. This device is just extraordinary, the only thing of its kind. The design is beautiful, the astronomy is exactly right. The way the mechanics are designed just makes your jaw drop. Whoever has done this has done it extremely carefully. But here's what's truly disturbing. If ancient Greeks possessed this level of astronomical knowledge and mechanical engineering capability, why don't we have any other examples of such technology? Where are the other ancient computers? Where are the workshops, the tools, the technical manuals? It's as if this technology appeared from nowhere and then vanished completely, leaving behind only this single, impossible artifact. The Antikythera Mechanism presents mainstream archaeology with an existential crisis. If ancient Greeks could build computers, then our entire understanding of technological progress, the idea that human knowledge accumulates steadily over time, is fundamentally wrong. The response from academic institutions has been predictably defensive. Rather than acknowledge the implications of this discovery, many historians have attempted to minimize its significance or explain it away. Some scholars argue that the mechanism must be a one-off creation, a unique invention that died with its creator. Others suggest it was created by some unknown genius who was centuries ahead of his time. Still others claim that its sophistication has been exaggerated by modern researchers. But these explanations miss the point entirely. The Antikythera mechanism isn't just sophisticated technology, it's technology that requires extensive supporting infrastructure. To create bronze gears with this level of precision, you need advanced metallurgy. To calculate the astronomical constants, you need generations of systematic observation. To design the gear ratios, you need deep mathematical knowledge. To construct the mechanism, you need specialized tools and experienced craftsmen. This isn't the work of a single genius. This is evidence of an entire technological tradition that has been completely erased from history. But perhaps the most telling aspect of the academic response is what isn't being said. Major archaeological journals have been strangely quiet about the mechanism's implications. University curricula still teach the traditional narrative of technological progress. Popular history books barely mention this revolutionary discovery. It's almost as if the academic establishment is afraid to acknowledge what the Antikythera mechanism really represents. Proof that ancient civilizations possessed sophisticated knowledge that challenges our most basic assumptions about human intellectual development. The mechanism forces us to confront an uncomfortable possibility. Maybe our ancestors weren't primitive. Maybe they knew things we've forgotten. Maybe human knowledge doesn't always progress linearly. Maybe sometimes it's lost, suppressed, or deliberately destroyed. The Antikythera mechanism wasn't found in isolation. It was discovered on a Roman cargo ship that was transporting Greek treasures from Rhodes to Rome around 50 BC. This context reveals something crucial about ancient technology transfer and knowledge suppression. Rhodes was one of the most important centers of learning in the ancient world. The island was home to advanced schools of mathematics, astronomy, and engineering. When Rome conquered Greek territories, they systematically looted not just gold and artwork, but intellectual treasures, books, instruments, and technological artifacts. The ship carrying the Antikythera mechanism was essentially an ancient technology transfer operation. Rome was appropriating Greek scientific knowledge and relocating it to the imperial capital. But the ship never reached its destination. Instead, it sank, preserving this impossible artifact for modern discovery. But here's what's truly chilling. How many other ancient computers were successfully transported to Rome? How many were lost when the Roman Empire fell? How many were deliberately destroyed during the rise of Christianity, when pagan science was considered dangerous heresy? Ancient texts reference other mechanical devices that sound suspiciously like the Antikythera mechanism. Cicero wrote about a device created by Archimedes that could predict the movements of the sun, moon, and planets. Pliny the Elder described mechanical calendars that could calculate festival dates and astronomical events. But these devices have vanished. Only the Antikythera Mechanism survived, and only because it was accidentally preserved in a shipwreck. Recent research has identified possible fragments of similar mechanisms in other archaeological sites across the Mediterranean. But these fragments are often dismissed as decorative elements or misidentified as simpler devices. It's possible that the Antikythera mechanism isn't unique at all. It might be the sole survivor of an entire tradition of ancient computer technology that was systematically destroyed or forgotten. This raises a terrifying question. What other ancient technologies have been lost to history? What other capabilities did our ancestors possess that we can only imagine? Share your theories in the comments. Some of the most insightful observations come from viewers who think outside the box of conventional history. The Antikythera mechanism isn't just an ancient curiosity, it's a warning about the fragility of technological knowledge. This device proves that sophisticated technology can completely disappear from human civilization, leaving barely a trace of its existence. Think about what this means for our modern world. We assume that our technological capabilities are permanent, that once knowledge is discovered, it can never be truly lost. But the Antikythera mechanism demonstrates that entire technological traditions can vanish. Consider the implications. If ancient Greeks could build computers and that knowledge was completely lost for 1,400 years, what modern technologies might be vulnerable to the same fate? Our contemporary world depends on incredibly complex technological systems that few people actually understand. Computer chips, satellite networks, genetic engineering, quantum mechanics. These technologies exist because of highly specialized knowledge held by small communities of experts. What happens if those communities disappear? What happens if wars, pandemics, or social collapse disrupt the institutions that preserve technical knowledge? What happens if future civilizations decide that certain types of knowledge are too dangerous to preserve? The Antikythera mechanism suggests that technological regression isn't just possible, it's happened before. Advanced civilizations can lose their most sophisticated capabilities and spend centuries trying to rediscover what they once knew. But there's another, more disturbing possibility. What if the loss of ancient technological knowledge wasn't accidental? What if it was deliberate? The rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire coincided with the systematic destruction of pagan texts and artifacts. Libraries were burned, schools were closed, and scientific instruments were destroyed as symbols of godless materialism. Could the Antikythera mechanism represent technology that was deliberately suppressed because it threatened religious or political authority? Could other ancient technologies have been destroyed because they gave too much power to those who understood them? The Antikythera mechanism forces us to confront a possibility that mainstream archaeology desperately wants to avoid: that ancient civilizations possessed knowledge that was deliberately hidden, suppressed, or destroyed by later authorities. Throughout history, technological knowledge has been controlled by those in power. Ancient priesthoods guarded astronomical secrets. Medieval guilds protected manufacturing techniques. Modern corporations patent scientific discoveries. The Antikythera mechanism might represent the remnant of a suppressed scientific tradition, knowledge that was too powerful, too dangerous, or too threatening to be allowed to survive. Consider what this device could do in ancient times. Predict eclipses, calculate optimal times for travel and warfare, demonstrate the mechanical nature of celestial movements. In a world where most people believed the gods controlled the heavens, such knowledge would have been incredibly dangerous to established religious authority. Ancient texts hint at secret societies of mathematicians and engineers who guarded technological knowledge. Pythagorean schools, Alexandrian scholars, and various mystery religions all claim to possess hidden wisdom about the nature of reality. Could the Antikythera mechanism be evidence that these secret societies actually existed? Could they have developed technologies that were deliberately kept from public knowledge? The mechanism's sophistication suggests decades or centuries of development by organized communities of scientists and engineers. But if such communities existed, why is there so little evidence of their work? Perhaps because that evidence was systematically destroyed. Perhaps because later civilizations decided that such knowledge was too dangerous to preserve. Perhaps because those in power realized that technological sophistication threatens social control. Standing in the museum today, looking at the corroded fragments of the Antikythera mechanism, one can't help but wonder, what other impossible technologies are buried beneath the sand, waiting to challenge everything we think we know about our past? And what technologies from our own time might future archaeologists find equally impossible to explain? The Antikythera mechanism is more than just an ancient computer. It's proof that human technological capability isn't linear, predictable, or permanent. Advanced civilizations can create sophisticated technology and then lose that knowledge completely, sometimes for over a millennium. This single corroded artifact rewrites the entire history of science and technology. It proves that ancient Greeks possessed computational abilities that wouldn't be matched again until the Renaissance. It demonstrates astronomical knowledge that rivals modern understanding. And it suggests that our ancestors were capable of technological sophistication that we're only beginning to appreciate. But perhaps most importantly, the Antikythera mechanism serves as a warning. If such advanced knowledge could be lost once, it could be lost again. The technologies we take for granted, the scientific understanding we assume is permanent, the computational capabilities that define our modern world, all of it is more fragile than we realize. The ancient Greeks built computers. Then that knowledge vanished for 1,400 years. What other impossible things might be hiding in our past? And what seemingly impossible technologies might vanish from our future? If this deep dive into ancient technology that rewrites history has blown your mind, smash that like button and subscribe for more suppressed archaeological discoveries. And here's my question for you. If you could recover one piece of lost ancient technology, what would it be and why? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Some of the most fascinating discussions happen when we imagine what our ancestors were truly capable of. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. Until then, remember, the past was far stranger and more sophisticated than we've been taught to believe.